go ahead and switch to this. Okay. All right. I don't look great. That's fine. That's awesome. I was really hoping that a lot of the me not looking great would be mitigated by the fact that I would have Sean on with me, and Sean looks way better than me. Sorry, I just saw our friend Alex Albaria tweeted me and said, "You were this sports mad like 2 days ago. Stop it," because I said I'd never been this sports mad in my life. That's not true. I've never been this sports mad in my life, and that's why Sean and I are on. All right, it literally took, and as Sean brought this up earlier, it literally took Bill O'Brien making the worst trade and worst move in the history of professional sports in my lifetime, and that I can remember, for Sean and I to be able to do a show again. But between schedules, my computer being broken, and me finally trying to take the time to fix it, we had to do this today. I had to vent. And I've only got about like 15 minutes before my lunch break is over, which sucks. Oh shit, Idris Elba has tested positive for COVID-19. We'll get to that later. Sean's with me right now, and I couldn't get his video to work because I'm still trying to work out all the kinks with the new computer and such. But Sean, thank you for hopping on with me. I know we're both working from home right now, and we're both on our lunch breaks. But dude, I don't even know where to start. I really don't. Like, what was your initial reaction when you saw? Because my phone started blowing up, and I know your phone started blowing up. What was your reaction when you saw that the Texans traded Deandre Hopkins?
I thought, well, let me back up, because when my phone started blowing up, that was 30 minutes after the fact that I got done laughing off that Peter King report that said that Hopkins could be on the trading block. And so I was like, yeah, right. This is just like one of those stupid reports, or at least we were going to treat this like one of those reports, like Jadeveon Clowney, like he was not a worker bee and that whole thing from like a year ago or 2 years ago, whatever it was now. And so I was like, yeah, whatever. That's never going to happen. If there's ever a guy, if you power ranked Texans that were at least if you rewind about an hour and a half ago, currently on the roster, that there's no way in absolute blue hell they could be traded, it was probably going to be Deshaun Watson, DeAndre Hopkins, and J.J. Watt. Like, that would be my top three off the top of my head. So it's not going to happen. There's no way. This is stupid. Peter King's an idiot. And, whatever. That was my initial reaction. And, and then when I saw and heard all the news from my phone blowing up, I didn't know what to think initially. I don't understand this to really any degree, especially since that, like, okay, if you're going to trade somebody and they're the, arguably the best player at their position in the entire league, of whatever league it is, and they're still doing it and they're in their prime, they're not even 30 years old yet, you're probably getting a first-round pick and multiple twos and the player that you want. Especially since the player that you wanted is getting paid about $4 or $5 million less than the player that you had on an already steal of a deal. So none of that happened. And so I was like, in a nutshell, it's dumb as hell. David Johnson is a guy who's had knee issues in 2 of the last 3 years, and you traded for him for a guy who's the best player at his position. So this not only makes the Texans the laughing stock of the NFL, but I thought for a second too, never mind the league, they're the laughing stock of the entire sports world.
Right.
And the NFL offseason is legitimately the only season going outside of apparently Russian Premier League soccer.
I got on ESPN today and I was like, man, it's a dark day in the sports world when Russian Premier League soccer is the only thing on the top events.
My God, section. I think their lone game is over. It was like just on the scoreboard that I clicked on now. But honestly, like the only news that anybody's talking about in the entire sports world right now is the NFL, the CBA, and free agency and Brady this, Brady that. Bill O'Brien said, I guess I'm so sick and tired of hearing about Tom Brady. I'm just going to do something to make everybody else shut up.
Oh,
tired of hearing about coronavirus and Tom Brady. Let's trade John Hopkins.
Yeah, it's like, think about any time bad news comes out. Let's take a Texans example. Whenever the news dropped that Brian Gaine had been fired, it was on a Friday afternoon at like 3 o'clock, 3:30. People were getting off work, ready to go home. Other news stories were happening. The NFL was like getting ready to ramp up. I think it was like, was it late summer or it was like late summer or like around like late July, August, whenever he got fired, wasn't it? Somewhere around there.
Oh, when Brian Gaine got
When
fired. Yeah,
Brian Gaine got fired, yeah.
Early June.
Yeah. There. So we're still in the middle of basketball. People, it's the dead period for the NFL, but there's still news. And it was on a Friday afternoon. I remember that part. And there's things to cover it up. You can kind of sneak that in there and then go through your weekend. The Texans and Bill O'Brien literally make this move on a Monday midday when everybody's fucking quarantined in their damn houses. Like, it's what I get that there's not going to be any other sports news to be able to guard this, and this isn't the thing that I'm the angriest about. The optics of trading DeAndre Hopkins, or the timing is like, there's no good way to trade a guy like DeAndre Hopkins for,
there's never a good
for
time.
something good. Like there's never a good time for something if you're getting a good return. So I got to talk about this. I'm so mad and I'm so confused, and I don't even know exactly what I want to say and how I want to say. But look, here, this is immediately what I thought. I had so many questions. And we got about like 10 minutes left before I have to end my lunch break, and I hate that. I hate this. This is definitely something that we're gonna have to come and revisit. But I had so many questions. I don't get this move at all. Like everybody watching. Like, I'm not gonna sit there and tell you guys, and Sean, I'm not gonna tell you, oh, I don't get this move. We all don't get it. Nobody understands this. I don't even think Bill O'Brien understands. I'll swear to God. I bet you he did this because he got pissed at D-Hop for something. Because there's the rumors that D-Hop wanted a new contract. Well, I don't know. How about nut up and say, no, you signed a contract. You've got 3 years left. Maybe we'll discuss it after this season, but you're going to play this season. And worst case scenario, he sits out and you still got DeAndre Hopkins under contract, and you look to trade him for something, for anything, for something useful. But you trade Hopkins, and you swap for a 4th-round pick for David Johnson and a 2nd-round pick, and you're going to pay David Johnson's full salary. I've heard 2 people on the radio today hop on Sports Radio 610 with John and Landry when this news broke. 2 people. But a guy from Arizona, can't remember his name, don't care, I'll probably never hear of him ever again. And then Ross Tucker. And both said David Johnson is not a good running back anymore. He's an okay 3rd down guy. So you just traded the best wide receiver in the NFL for like a half-used roll of toilet paper, which, I mean, even a half-used roll of toilet paper is pretty, it's got some value to it nowadays. But you traded for David Johnson and a 2nd-round pick. You're not going to get a receiver in the 2nd round that's going to be anywhere close to what DeAndre Hopkins is. This is the dumbest move I've ever seen in my entire life.
You can't rationalize.
No, these are all the questions that I've got. Like, I have so many questions, but there's one more that's more important than all the other ones. Is how in the fuck have we gotten here with the Texans? Did Bill O'Brien make it personal? How the fuck did we get stuck with Bill O'Brien as the GM? How bad will this set back the franchise? How much farther away from winning anything are the Texans now? How in the hell does Cal McNair continue to let shit happen like this? How did he let this specific move happen? How does the locker room feel about this right now? Like, that's a big one to me.
We know the answer to how the locker room feels about it right now. If you haven't seen tweets from Laramie Tunsil, which was the hand and face emoji. Shit, if you haven't seen tweets from oh God, who was it? He's literally the laughing stock around the league. I think it was Jadeveon Clowney who tweeted like "damn OB," and it was like the crying laughing emoji, dude, like 10 times over.
He and the Texans are the laughing stock of the sporting world. It's not just the NFL. They're the laughing stock of the sporting world now. Like, Bill O'Brien essentially said, hey, you know what? You guys think the Cleveland Browns are bad? Hold my beer. You guys think the Miami Dolphins are bad? Hold my beer. Like, every other team. Look, the New York Giants traded away their top wide receiver and one of the best in the league in Odell Beckham Jr. because they were fucking rebuilding. They were rebuilding. You were up by more than 2 scores on the eventual fucking Super Bowl champions in the playoffs, and you fucking go trade your top player outside of Deshaun Watson? You trade the best wide receiver in the league? This isn't a rebuilding time. This is let's continue building and win now. You're in win now mode, and you just traded your best offensive player. You traded your best offensive player. And out of all the questions that I have, there's only one that matters. What is the fucking point in being a Texans fan?
Yeah,
What is the goddamn point in being a Texans fan as long as Bill O'Brien is with this franchise? Because right now, everybody in the city of Houston should boycott that fucking team. Nobody should be a fan of that team until Bill O'Brien is gone. And I cannot wait. David Johnson's going to flame out. DeAndre Hopkins is going to kick ass he's there with Christian Kirk and I can't even remember his name. I'm so mad right now. The quarterback. Oklahoma, played at A&M. This is going to fucking kill me. Kyler Murray, thank you. My brain is not operating right now. He's going to flourish in Arizona with those guys. The Texans are going to flame out. David Johnson's going to be a bust. And I hope Bill O'Brien loses his job. I'm not normally a person that says, hey, I hope that guy gets fired.
How's he going to lose his job?
I don't know.
Like,
I don't know.
It's happened. Josh, it's happened. How's he going to lose his job? Like, why would it take the Texans falling on their face whenever and if they ever get to play actual meaningful games this season on a whatever the normal is in the next 4 months. I mean, God knows, you know what I'm saying, with everything that's going on. But I mean, like, how does Cal McNair sign off on this? How does that happen?
I don't know. Imagine being a fly on the wall in that meeting. Like walking into the scene had to be like something from a stupid fucking like a Three Stooges movie. Or some shit like that, where like the one dumbass character walks in. This is like it's like SpongeBob and Patrick from fucking SpongeBob SquarePants. As Patrick walks in and goes, "Hey, SpongeBob, I think I'm gonna trade DeAndre Hopkins, okay?" And then Cal McNair, SpongeBob, says, "Yeah, absolutely, do it." And then they fucking do it. It's like I don't even know how to explain how stupid of a scene that is. Like how if somebody walks in and says, "Hey, look, I'm gonna trade DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson in a second-round pick," if I'm Cal McNair, I look at Bill and go, "No, you're not. You absolutely aren't. You're not gonna do that at all. Number one, we're gonna figure this out, and we're gonna keep DeAndre Hopkins because he's one of the best offensive players in the league. But number two." Like if you are going to trade him, we're going to trade him at least a first-round pick. Like, how do you not get a first-round pick? How do you not get the 8th overall pick from Arizona for him at a bare minimum? I'm gonna let you talk. I'm so mad right now. I didn't think I was gonna get this mad. I thought I'd worked it out.
I don't know how we're gonna do this in like 15 minutes.
I don't either.
Way less. But
I don't either.
You know, everybody in the city is feeling this way. Every Texan fan is feeling this way. And I'm trying my best to scour Twitter to find, a pulse. And the only pulse that I can find 110% aligns with yours and mine. Like, we don't get it. It's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. And not only are we miffed at, how Cal McNair, somebody in his position, the owner, can sign off on this. Like, if there was another guy, I already told you, if we power ranked guys that on this roster, for 100% fact, would not be traded while in their prime, DeAndre Hopkins would be number 2 on that list right behind Deshaun Watson. But if you were to power rank probably the next guy or 2 or 3 to be enshrined in the Texans Ring of Honor, DeAndre Hopkins would probably be number 1. Mm-hmm. To hell with Arian Foster, to hell with I don't even know. It's not like there's a million of them out there, but we're just you were kind of waiting on DeAndre Hopkins to get that done. If it took the next 10 years, it took the next 10 years, but he was going to be up there in the Ring of Honor. And then not now, strained relationship with Bill O'Brien. Okay, fine. This was one of the very first questions that we asked ourselves when we talked about, to great lengths. Whenever Bill O'Brien was, given more power just by the actions that were announced through the media, and then literally given more power as the title of general manager for this team, this was the number one question. Can he be a guy that can coach his players but also hold a business relationship with? There are 2 different roles there, and only the few the special guys that have that innate ability to command such a role, like a Bill Belichick, can do that. And Bill O'Brien has not proven to date in the last 6 years that he can even grasp a handle on clock or game management situations, much less worry about building relationships, coaching a team, and running a business. And it's an incredibly horrible business move.
Yeah.
I've read anything from, this is malpractice by Bill O'Brien, absolute fact. If you want to make an analogy to um, any kind of field in the professional sector, and call it malpractice. You could call it just irresponsible. You could call it whatever you wanted to. That's exactly what this is. Maybe we need to stop trying to figure out how to understand this, but really talk about like the lasting effects this is going to have on not just, forget Bill O'Brien, because he won't die with the Houston Texans. Okay, at least I hope not.
Yeah.
Like, when's this guy going to be out of here kind of thing is where we're at right now with him. But what are going to be the lasting effects of an organization? And I feel so stupid now for the last 12 months plus talking about this team being in a win now mode. To hell with that. They're not in a win now mode. I mean, I don't know what kind of mode they're in, but you're not going to win now. They're not winning in 2020 without the best receiver in football.
No, it's a rebuild. He's forced them into a rebuild. That's essentially what he's done. And maybe
you have a guy who can't stay healthy in Will Fuller. You have a guy who couldn't stay healthy this past year in Kenny Stills, and I like Kenny Stills. You have a guy who couldn't stay out of Bill O'Brien's doghouse in Kiki QT, and like there's your receiving core. And then now you have people, and I don't know how right they are.
What if they go sign a guy like Amari Cooper? How mad would you be? How mad would you be if they free that money? They free that money, they make that trade, and then bring in a guy like Amari Cooper.
I mean, I would be, if it's possible, to be even more pissed off. I mean, I would be more pissed off.
Right, because that's
you already have a guy in Deandre Hopkins who's the best or one of the best for like a ridiculously cheap salary. And you know what?
But Sean, they got David Johnson in a second-round pick and Amari Cooper. It's like, you know what it is? It's like really, really bad trading in Madden.
No, it's like Madden. Like, maybe Madden, but...
it's like an 8-year-old kid goes in Madden and is just like, all right, so I'm playing as the Cardinals now. How can I get DeAndre Hopkins on my team? Oh, shit, they'll take David Johnson? Let's do this. I say this because this is the exact scenario. I say an 8-year-old kid, but it was really me playing as the Texans and in Madden with Cody Stutes and Paul Gallant and B-Mac. Mm-hmm. And Paul got mad at us because we all started making stupid trades. Cody moved the Raiders to London and then traded for both Khalil Mack and Aaron Donald and gave away like peanuts for it. And I brought in Antonio Brown. This is before I knew, but I brought in Antonio Brown to the Texans and traded Lamar Miller for Antonio Brown. And this is when Antonio Brown was still the best in the league. So yeah, it's like this is like a real bad Madden trade. Like some kid decided to take over a franchise with the Cardinals. Like, I really love DeAndre Hopkins. How can I make this happen? Oh, I'll trade David Johnson in a second.
Hey, let me ask you a question, because I don't play around with all this stuff, but I know they have like the trade machine for the NBA. Do they have this for the NFL?
Man,
like,
I don't know.
Isn't this one of those things, like, if this was the NBA, like, if at all possible, the trade machine would like jump out of the computer and slap you and laugh at your ass?
Yeah, like, it absolutely is. Yeah,
this is not possible.
If you had to do like, because with the NBA trade machine, it does like plus so many wins, minus so many wins. Like if we do that in NFL perspective, like I have to imagine an NFL trade machine would say, all right, this is this trade is going to make you lose 5 more games than you would have if you hadn't made this trade.
Or
like that's the kind of shit we're going to see.
It can't happen. You can't do this trade because it's DeAndre Hopkins, and you're asking for a second and a fourth. And the 4th round pick that you're getting isn't even for this year's draft. It's for next year's draft. So you're an idiot. Please try again.
Some guy named Yugo Kishore says, do you actually read the comments? Is this a news channel? What are you talking about? Well, your name is Yugo Kishore. I'm maybe the quarantine talk thing is throwing people off a bit. It was poorly named. My bad. It's more quarantine sports talk, and we're talking about the Texans trading DeAndre Hopkins. Everybody here in the city of Houston knows what we're talking about, but I didn't even think about people on YouTube that aren't in the city. This is not actual quarantine talk. This is talking while under quarantine.
Well, yeah, but have a sense of humor, jackass.
Yeah. I mean, oh, God, Sean, calm down. My goodness. So this is what we'll do. Sean and I, we've been talking about starting back up for a while now. We're going to do it this weekend now that I've got everything up and running. I'm going to fix all the kinks. My lunch is over, so we got to end now. But what we'll do is, everybody's confused. Everybody's angry. What I really want to do is I want to start to get comments from everybody, and I want to get so many comments. I want everybody's opinion on Bill O'Brien and this trade, and I want to bring it to the next show. We'll do it either this Saturday or Sunday. Sean and I will work out a time to do it this Saturday and Sunday, and we'll talk about what are the ramifications of this trade. What does this mean for the Texans moving forward in the 2020 season? But, dude, Bill O'Brien can absolutely go to hell. Just from a personal standpoint, look, I'm not a journalist anymore. I work at an esports company here in town. I love my job. I love what I do. I'm not a journalist anymore. I'm not a sports media personality anymore, and I'm so happy for that, especially when there's no sports to talk about. Sorry, Sean. But I love what I do now, but I still love talking about sports, which is why Sean and I do this. And now, normally as a journalist, I'd be like, well, don't make it personal. No, I'm gonna fucking make it personal. Deandre Hopkins is one of my favorite people to interview. He was one of my favorite people in the locker room. He was nice to everybody. He talked to everybody. He would talk to you like he didn't even know me. He would talk to you. He would talk to me when we were in the locker room. He was such a good dude. And since Bill O'Brien has been with the Texans, he shat all over a franchise legend in Andre Johnson and just fucking dropped him without a heartbeat, or dropped him in a heartbeat without a thought. He has no problem trading away Deandre Hopkins, who's been just another legend for this franchise. I can't imagine what he's planning on doing with J.J. Watt, although I think he understands, or at least somebody in that fucking organization understands that doing wrong by J.J. Watt would actually cause this entire city to revolt against him. Although I think doing wrong by DeAndre should make this city revolt against him, because to me DeAndre Hopkins is far more important to the Texans organization than J.J. Watt is at this point. Although I love J.J., Hopkins was way more important. But Hopkins, as a guy, as a part of the community, as a leader in that locker room, as one of the best players in the league, the best wide receiver in the league, the best player on the team outside of Deshaun Watson, I cannot believe they traded him away. Bill O'Brien is an absolute piece of shit. I don't care who hears me say that. I don't have to answer to anybody. He is a terrible GM. He's a mediocre coach. He's a mediocre play caller. He is an absolute ass game manager. He's a terrible. Okay, good. He's got a great personality. He's good at managing the players. In one trade, he lost that. I can't imagine any clout, any authority that he had over any of the players. I can't imagine any of that stands after this. He's going to have lost the locker room. He's lost the team. He's lost the city. And look, he's lost me. And I know that doesn't matter, because I don't matter. In the grand scheme of things, I don't matter. It's us together, right? It's all of us. It's me and Sean and you guys listening and everybody that's fans of the Texans. It's everybody together that matters. It's those players. It's the team. It's the feeling of the city. But my feelings don't matter. But I've been one of the people that's defended Bill O'Brien for a really long time. I've been one of the people that said, well, if you fire Bill O'Brien, who are you going to get that's going to be better than him? And at this point, anybody. Because there isn't a single, you can't convince me there's a single fucking person that's a former, current, or future NFL head coach that would have said, yeah, this is a good trade, except for Bill O'Brien.
Yeah, but you're talking about the head coach and not the GM,
the
right?
The GM, it does,
and he hasn't proven either one of them.
Decision maker. I don't care what title he's been bequeathed or has been bequeathed upon him. I don't care what anybody calls him. Bill O'Brien is a moron, and I hope he gets fired sooner rather than later. If we have to deal with Bill O'Brien more than one more season, I just don't know how anybody in this city supports this team after this trade. It's a terrible, terrible trade.
You talked yourself into what has now become like the most important question and the biggest point in the midst of all of this, in trading Hopkins today, is that, okay, so he's had the reputation of being, somebody really good to work with and a good person and a character builder. Okay, well, what about now when you've totally disrupted the character and the attitude of your locker room?
Yeah.
In trading away the best player at his position and one of the most beloved players on this football team in the entire city. What now? How do you repair that? How do you move forward? And there's the question that I think, if Bill O'Brien's being honest with himself, he's going to have a lot of trouble getting a good night's sleep tonight, knowing and having to understand that Bill O'Brien, the general manager, might have made something absolutely foobarred today for Bill O'Brien, the head coach, going forward.
Yep, so, and the entire city and the entire franchise and the owners of the franchise. You know what? I'm loving Cal McNair in there. Sell the team. Not to Tillman Fertitta, because he's a piece of shit too. But sell the team to somebody. I don't care who. I'm done with you. I'm done with you, Cal. You are the one who allowed this. At the end of the day, it's your responsibility. You're the one that owns the team. sell the team to somebody else. Both of y'all. I'm done with both him and Bill. We'll dive into more of the ramifications of what this means for the Texans after trading DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson and a second-round pick. Here's a forecast of what we're going to talk about. Not good. So we'll talk about that more this weekend. Sean and I'll figure out what we'll probably do moving forward. We might just record and post on YouTube, and then only when there's breaking news will we go live on Twitter like this. But we'll figure it out, and we'll get something out to you guys this weekend. Talk about the future of the Texans without DeAndre Hopkins. Appreciate you guys listening. I got to go back to work now. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.